Hello, it's another beautiful Friday morning on ABS TV channel 24 Okey, the heartbeat of the East. And you're on to your one and only favorite program, Teens and Twenties. I never change, I still remain your best friend on TV, America. And I've got with me a big shot in the studio, a famous professor, a novelist, someone who has traveled far and wide. I have with me Professor Okey Ndibe. Prof, welcome to the program, Teens and Twenties.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you.
Good morning. All right. Looking at your profile, your portfolio, everything about you, I understand that you are an academician. But then, is a platform where we sensitize the youth, we educate them, and we tell them, we show them the way of life. Now, I want to take you angle of the educational system of this nation. As a professor who has been across the ocean, I want to ask you, do you think that the educational system of this country is living up to expectation to compare with what we have in the Western world?
There's no question that the educational system in this country has failed the young people in this country. And it's not just me saying so, it's also our political leaders who show that this is true. I don't know of any Nigerian governor, former governor, minister, who has sent or sends his children to school, to any schools in Nigeria, whether it's especially to a university education. And so what that suggests to me is that the educational policy in this country has failed the youth. And so that we have a long way to go before we can reform our educational system to begin to deliver quality education to our young people, and therefore to prepare them for the role that they must play in order to transform our society.
It's all right. Having someone like you as a Nigerian and a Iberian, you've been outside there trying to educate others, sensitizing them, and what have you done to impact positively in the lives of the youth here in Nigeria?
Well, what I've done is to write a column, for one. I've written a weekly column in one Nigerian newspaper or another since 1999. And because I think that the moral formation of young people is critical at this time. When I see young people participate in all the pathologies, all the bad behavior of their parents, the same bad behavior that put this country in its current sorry and deplorable state. It's painful for me to see. And so what I try week after week is to sketch out for these young people, my young readers, a sense of a different dispensation, of a different moral and ethical outlook, and also to sort of show them that integrity is still important. Integrity is not just still important, it's key to everything you do in your life. That knowledge, the acquisition of knowledge, is what drives the world, not people consuming by buying 20 or 30 cars or building big mansions. The most important people in the world today are those who are producing, not those who are consuming. And so even the things that get us all in our obsessive moods, right? People want to get, I have this kind of mobile phone and so on. It is people who are sitting down in their labs and who are thinking of ways of making those phones better. Those are the people who are changing the world, not the clowns who steal the resources of their countries to buy these expensive phones and cars and so on.
It's all right. Now, let's also look at the way the country is carrying the youth along. With respect to what is happening across the ocean in the Western world. Do you really think that Nigerian political system has been so favorable for the youth?
Absolutely not. It's become a bad joke in Nigeria, but it's a true one. That those who were telling us in 1970 that they were preparing youth to be leaders of tomorrow are the same ones who are there today, okay, being called stakeholders. They're the same ones who are ministers and governors and so on and so forth. For the most part, there are some young people, some young middle-aged people who are getting into political roles. But on the whole, we have not allowed our young people to have a voice, at least the kind of voice that they ought to have in a society where they are going to spend the most time, because a lot of these people who are running the country in a very tragic way are going to be out of here in a few years, say. But ultimately, it is not for society to give the young people a role. It is for young people to seize a role for themselves. It is for young people to prepare themselves and to say, we want a better future and we're going to shape that future. But in order to do that, unfortunately, they need a proper kind of education. And again, that goes back to what I do. That's part of why I write my columns, so that our people who are set political perfidy, political treason, because to steal public resource, public funds, is to commit political treason. And yet, in our society, such people are praised, such people are given chieftaincy titles, such people are knighted in the church. So part of what I do in writing my column is to tell our young people that these are not your heroes and these are not the kind of people you want to aspire to be.
It's all right. In case of just joining us, it has been your favorite program, Teens and Twenties. And with me in the studio has been Professor Okey Ndibe. He's a novelist, and whatever you can think of as long as literature is concerned. All right, Prof. As a writer, I believe you encountered some challenges. And before you get to this level you are now, there are some challenges you encounter. And there are some young writers out there who love to know what kind of challenges did you encounter and how were you able to solve them to get you to this stage?
Good. Yeah, in fact, to be a writer at all is to experience firsthand on an almost daily basis a lot of challenges, right? So you can say that difficulties are inevitable in the creative process, in the process of becoming a writer. For example, when my first novel was published, when I finished my first novel, my agent sent it to a number of American publishers, and all of them will read it and praise it. Oh, this is great. But they say, we don't think that people are interested in African literature. So they didn't buy it. So I ended up selling it in the UK to Heinemann in the African Writers series. Yeah. I had to wait another 10 years before I produced my next novel, which I wrote over 8 years. Yes. Now, I wrote it over 8 years because I wanted a novel that would be worthy of the first one. The first novel was praised around the world, and it's been taught by professors around the world, and it's been praised, right? So I said, I'm going to produce another novel that will be equal to it, if not surpass it, right? Now, that takes work. I wasn't going to cut corners. I could have produced another novel in a year or two, but I wanted to produce a novel that would be solid. And so part of the challenge is just to find a time, okay, to sit down and to continue to write until you get it right. And if one publisher says no to you, to know that that's not the end of the world, that there are lots of publishers in the world, and ultimately you'll find the right one for you.
All right. In Nigeria, maybe in Igbo to be precise, the youth has this perception that if you travel out, maybe you leave the country for another state, you get richer quicker, you make money, and forgetting some challenges that will encounter there. As someone who have traveled out, you meet up with these people, your reasoning has changed, like the way we reason here. What advice do you have for some of our youths who believe that their destiny lies outside?
It's a tragic outlook. It's tragic. The best investment you make is in the space where you find yourself. Okay, I happened to go to America because Chinua Achebe wanted, with some Nigerian academics, with Professor Barton Naji, wanted to set up an international magazine called African Commentary, and Achebe proposed me to come to America and be the founding editor of that magazine. Otherwise, I was happy working as a journalist in Nigeria. I worked for Satellite Newspaper in Enugu, and I worked for the Concord, worked in the Guardian before Achebe invited me to go to the States. During my time as a journalist, I was offered political appointment by a military governor who proposed me as his press secretary. I said no. I'm enjoying my job as a journalist. He said, be my chief speech writer. I said no. And some of my friends were upset. I didn't have a car at the time. They said, oh, you would have had several official cars, live in GRA, Enugu, and so on. And I said, my profession, I was passionate about journalism. Do you understand? And I was willing to take the inconvenience of not having a car in order to advance myself as a journalist. And so I advanced myself to the point where Chinua Achebe found me qualified to come be the founding editor of a magazine that he and Professor Naji set up in the US. And so it's important to discover what you want to do in life. My passion in life are two. I love writing and I love to teach. And those are two things that I'll do for free. So I'm blessed, I'm lucky that I get paid to do them.
It's all right. It has been your favorite program, Twenties and Twenties, and I never change that. Streaming your best friend on TV, America. All right, Prof. Of course, the present administration in Anambra State is a government that loves the youth. They want to carry everybody along. But then, since we have it here in this studio, what advice do you have for the government?
Well, I hope that the government, if it loves the youth, that the government demonstrates it. And one way to demonstrate it is to invest in youth development. And there is no better investment than in the area of education. So the government should invest heavily in education at every level. So hire the best teachers, equip the libraries, equip the labs for students so that they get a sound education. Also, the government should create avenues to hear directly from young people, especially in relation to policies that affect them, right? And then I think that one of the things that the government ought to do is to set up libraries in every community in our state. Not just buildings, but libraries that are equipped with books.
It's all right. Invest in the youth. I think when that is done, the state or nation will look good, become good. Yeah, that's from Professor Okey Ndibe. And it's been your wonderful program, Teens and Twenties. Prof, nice having you on the program, Teens and Twenties.
Thank you very much.
I believe that when next you are being called upon, you oblige us your presence.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Once again, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much for inviting me, and have a good morning.
All right, sometime, same session next Friday. I'll be here on another interesting package, the program Teens and Twenties, to make you happy. Today, happy weekend. I love you.